Well, good afternoon. I guess we're prepping for some snowstorm up here in Michigan. That sounds fun, right? A little snowstorm. But yeah, we're going to talk today more about good old cucking. So it's like, why am I having so many videos on this? And why is there an interest in the topic? Well, here's the thing you have to know about the psychology behind this if you're going to expertly, will say, navigate the dating and relationship market in 2022. Sure, if it was the 1950s, this wouldn't be something really necessarily to worry about. But if you understanding, I say worry about, I mean, it's always a part of female psychology. I had somebody in the comment section of yesterday's video, arrogantly think that this was just a male driven kink. It's not. This cuckoldry has been around. I mean, has been around since prior to Shakespeare. Okay, a lot of Shakespeare's plays, which were hundreds of years ago, were surrounding this idea of somebody being cuckolded and and having to deal with the shame and all that stuff of having to handle that. And, murders and all kinds of stuff would happen based on this concept of cuckoldry. And it's something that the women are doing to the guys. Now, the kink world, they're guys that push or want this thing, just like there are guys who want to be dominated by females. Okay, yep, that can be male driven, but don't think that there's not a female driven kink as well to want to have this sort of lifestyle. And it's not just we're going to kind of merge together, because even if you're not in that kink world and you're like, dude, I never want to be cuckolded as a kink. That's disgusting. That's like pegging, or that's like this. That's gross to me. I don't want that. I get that. You have to understand the psychology on the woman's side and the female side behind this. Why? Because women cuck men. Women, and this is a bold statement, and a lot of people aren't going to like it, but I don't care because I'm here to tell you the truth and not lie to you. All women cuck men, every single one of them, all of them, every single one. Your mom, your girlfriend, everybody. Okay. Why do I say that? When I say cuck, I'm broadening the definition. I don't mean a full on cuckold fantasy. Every woman does that. It's not what I mean. There's a level of degrading or sadism towards other potential partners in order to elevate their best partner. That's what I mean. So you're either the person that is being elevated, in other words, the contextual alpha, the best that she can do, the guy that she really wants to be with, the guy she desires, or you're the other guys. All right. And, you know, and so that's one or the other. Now, why is it that binary? There's very few things in this world that are that way. The reason why is because it goes back to the female mating selection strategy. The mammalian brain for the woman's side is wanting to select the best possible mate. So the one that she selects, she has to believe that that guy is the best choice. So in order to believe that, it's a subjective choice. It's not objective, although there are objective things to support, like the evidence to support her subjective decision. And she looks to friends and how people react, to her man or her husband or whatever it is. She looks out into the world for that objective feedback, because women are naturally unsure or uncertain about these things, but she wants to know she's making the best choice. And so for her to know she's making the best choice, subjectively, she has to elevate the guy she's with and also degrade the other options, starting with guys that have already been inside of her. Okay. Guys that have been with her before, need to be seen as less than you if you're the current partner in a sexual sense. In a sexual sense. Simona was on my last, was actually the focal point. Her comment was the focal point of yesterday's show. We're kind of doing a continuation to make some additional points that I ran out of time on yesterday. So I didn't plan on going live today. Thank you again, Simona, for your contribution and questions, because this is a topic that Simona was forced to face involuntarily, basically, by having a boyfriend / ex-boyfriend that was pushing this kind of thing on her. But, for most of us, we're not having this idea or concept thrown at us. And so we can comfortably ignore it, because men, and this is where men are not comfortable with female sexual psychology, which is, and quite frankly, we talk about respecting women and stuff like that. Talking about these things are not disrespectful to women. To me, it's disrespectful to not recognize what we know and what we're finding about our mate selection and about our psychology, and about, how we evolved and how the brain evolved and how men and women have evolved a little bit differently in our sexual strategies, recognizing without judgment how a female, the mammalian brain approaches the marketplace of dating and relationships and sex, and accepting it for what it is, and then handling it in a way that, gives us the best outcomes. That's not disrespectful to women. It's disrespectful, the narrative that's being promoted that says we can't have a frank discussion about these things, because some of those things that go on in the mammalian brain might not be favorable from a moral standpoint for certain people. But it's just same with guys. But it's okay to say guys are dogs, and guys are, the fact that guys are geared towards mate variety, and therefore, we're less selective than a woman. Guy will fuck anything or whatever, right? That idea is not that controversial, right? We can say that about dudes because we can say guys are dogs. That's okay. Now, that's a judgmental thing, though. It's not guys are dogs. It's just guys are geared towards spreading seed amongst multiple options. That doesn't mean he has to do that in a monogamous relationship. If monogamy is his best chance of reproductive success and the best chance of her partner's success, I don't just mean reproductively, but I mean in life in general, then be monogamous, and then utilize, but to ignore the drive towards monogamy, or I'm sorry, to ignore the drive towards the male desire to spread seed, and to lie to yourself about that is not helpful. It's not helpful. And just like to ignore our mate switching tendencies is not helpful, to ignore how women mate switch and how they approach that in their minds is not helpful. To ignore those things, it's not a shaming thing on women. It's a recognizing things for what they are. And with that, I do want to make that announcement that I have a live event and course. It's not just about not getting cheated on, although that's kind of the promotion, the market promotion. It's about having good and enforcing solid mental framework in your relationship, to have the boundaries and to have the understanding in place of how you want to structure your relationship and what constitutes crossing a boundary for that relationship and what doesn't, how to enforce that, and teaches you guys how to properly react and how to properly react to boundary crossing, for one, and not freak out or be overzealous or controlling or toxic or be ignoring either, you know what I mean? And to be able to assess your girl and what she likes and wants. Some girls like a more claiming dominant framework, some girls don't. And so how do we, and that's, you may want or not want some of those things. So these are things we talk about in this live event. But mainly, if you handle those boundaries, there's no such thing as infidelity for your life anymore. You won't accept boundary crossings and covert behavior and stuff like that. You'll end a relationship or leave before it goes too far, or you'll address it and not get cheated on, have her come back to framework. Okay. So that is coming up soon. You guys got to get on that. A lot of people don't understand the value of that. Everyone wants my pickup information. They want to learn how to get the girls and how to be. My mastermind group wants to learn how to bang the girls. Yes, you need to learn how to bang the girls. They want to learn all this stuff that's sexy and cool, but they don't want to talk about the uncomfortable shit. Well, this course is we're going to deal with the uncomfortable shit, like this topic, for example, and then what to do about it, how to action it. But if you can face the uncomfortable things, the things that don't make you comfortable, just about dating market, about your wife or your girlfriend, and if you're a woman watching, your boyfriend or potential future prospects, if you're willing to face those uncomfortable things, then what's good about it is we can develop strategies and a mindset to overcome those things, and so that you'll have success. Because the things that are killing you in the dating, mating, and relationship world today are the things that are uncomfortable to talk about and nobody wants to talk about. So it's what's behind those things are what is kind of ruining or damaging your abilities to be happy. So I'll do a quick little commercial break and then we'll get to the rest of the topic.
Infidelity, cheating, and jealousy. She's just as sexually active as she was when you first met her, but it's probably with the other man.
If she's a cheater, just get rid of her, right? But what if I had 100% proof that your wife, your girlfriend, or that little angel that you're going to ask out on a date
are all cheaters? As high as 70% of people have cheated in the past. Statistics will vary, however, because people lie about it. At least half of who admitted to cheating also admit to lying about it to their current partners. Over 80% of women admit to fantasizing about another man. And 70% admit that they would cheat on their current partners if they could get away with it.
So at what point are we going to recognize that infidelity is a part of the human condition? Your girl's a cheater, you're a cheater, I'm a cheater. We are all cheaters when it comes to our instincts. Anyone could fall to cheating behaviors. However, many women don't. Many women won't cheat, don't cheat, and in fact don't even think about cheating because they have crazy sexual desire for their partners. So what makes these men so desirable? They know how to be a trusted leader, which means communicating healthy boundaries and enforcing those boundaries in a healthy way. What most people don't know is that there are 7 stages of cheating. Sex with another man isn't until stage 6. So that means you have several stages before you reach that point of no return. Click on the link to my new video on the signs that she might be cheating. And please subscribe to my new channel, Apex Inner Game. And if you want to learn how to set and enforce boundaries in a healthy way so that you will never be cheated on again and that you'll always have the desire of your partner, click on the second link below and enroll in my live training event. There is limited seating, so get in before it closes. Without knowing about cheating and without knowing how to enforce and make these boundaries in a healthy way, happy relationships can't happen. So I hope to see you soon.
All right, we're back. Thank you for doing that. Oh, thanks. Ernesto's the man here. Yeah, so these are the shit because so Ernesto knows I got like almost 100 people in my mastermind group. If that's something you want, send me a DM or a message because right now I close the enrollment. I'm selective on who I get, not because I don't want to help everybody, but it's just because some people have bigger problems they need to face before fine tuning their seduction and relationship skills, right? That said, though, I have guys who are absolute abysmally beginners, right? But they weren't they weren't in contending with other things that they needed to address first. Some guys, for example, if they're financially not somewhat stable, and you could have credit card debt and be a little messed up, but I mean, we're talking like if you're like, I don't know if I could pay rent this month, you don't need, I'll turn you down, not because I'm being mean, but because you need to spend like 6 months, get yourself stable, and then we'll work on other stuff, guys who need like a counselor or a psychologist for a mental illness that is in the DSM, that's something I can offer some help with, but there's no way like my mastermind group is not going to square that away for you. So those are some of the guys I've had to turn down. Guys who are maybe a potential threat. I've had a few of those. That's very rare, but you run into those too, because I'm teaching deep persuasion skills, and unfortunately, things that are actually going to help you in your relationships could also be damaging if you were somebody who was inclined to be abusive or had some mental issues. And so I couldn't take those people on. And then but the bigger one was addictions. Guys are like, well, I have a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction, and I'm not addressing my addiction. And I want to come to your group just specifically for that. It's like, I can't manage your addiction through my group because it's not enough. Now you could do my group and then do AA, or then do addiction counseling, or go to rehab first and then come out and then do my group, right? Like there's a lot of things you could do, but being, I can't be your addiction counselor, like, and have that's just not ethical for me to say yes to that. So those are situations, but the rest of you guys, something you want, actually just do this course that I have coming up. You'll have live Zoom calls. You can ask me questions. It's related to, almost anything but boundary enforcement and cheating. And then there's a special offer for those guys who are good candidates to get into the mastermind group for a year. So anyway, yeah, getting off of a public forum with me is how we can get some real work done. And Simona's right. We're almost like two different species in a way, because one of us carries a baby and the other doesn't, and that caused a split in how we evolved in our sexual strategies and the way that we communicate with each other, the way that our physical bodies are built. There's a lot of differences there, and if we're not recognizing these differences, though unpopular now to say, it shouldn't be unpopular, but it is. If we don't recognize these differences, that's how we get ourselves. That's how we just don't know anything, right? Like people don't know shit when it comes to dating and relationships because they don't start with a framework of men and women are different. If you can't start there, you're not going to end up like you have to start with the right conclusions to end up with the right conclusions. If you start with a false premise, like we're all the same and there isn't biological differences, it's all a construct. If that's the premise you start with, you will not end up with a truthful premise in the end of it. You'll end up with some corruption of how things should work, and you're going to fail. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of that stuff. And I don't know. I'm just posting comments. You guys throw supers in, and if you're right. I can't ever be okay with watching my LTR have sex with another guy. Yeah, me neither. That's not my cup of tea. Oh, and that's, by the way, these videos are not trying to sell you on being a cock, dude, just so you know. And I'm not trying to, I'm just because I'm not judging the kink, that doesn't mean I'm like, oh, you should go do this. Like, actually, it's detrimental for, I would say, the large majority of people. But we're going to cover an article in a minute where psychologists disagrees. Surprise, surprise. However, when we had the talk about past experience, I got turned on. Okay. I'm also interested in visiting BDSM club in my area. Yeah. So here's the thing on that. I talked about this in yesterday's show. It's the idea of her, the idea that she might be getting violated by another man causes a different type of protective mating strategy, which is to want to bang her harder, longer, focus on her orgasms, and ensure that if she had cheated on you, okay, or she had another dude, that you would not, you would make it so that she doesn't have that guy's baby, because they've done, this is again, biological evolutionary psych. All right. And in studies, when they've done studies with this, like they've determined the reason why our penises and our vaginas are shaped and made the way they are. Part of that is sexual competition intervaginally. So I have this covered in another video. More reasons YouTube hates me. But so the penis is designed to suction out another person's, semen. if she had sex with somebody else to make room for yours. And the more harder, more vigorously you make that happen, the longer you do it, right? The longer you do it and the harder you bang her, kind of, to a degree, right? There's a mix of both things. The more likely you're going to suction out the other person's fluid to make room for yours. And then, of course, her orgasms are going to create an oxytocin effect, which shuttles your sperm to the egg after you've suctioned out the other guy's stuff. Very graphic for some of you. Hopefully you can handle it and be an adult. That is the truth, though. That's what they found with a bunch of research. So there's the mate protection, which both men and women to some degrees find as a turn on, right? Now, when a guy, his mate protecting behavior becomes controlling or toxic, if it crosses a certain line, it starts to violate the feelings of safety. So women are always balancing out comfort and safety with sexual desire and attraction. And so when that balance gets thrown off, if the guy gets toxically possessive, right? But a certain degree of possessiveness is attractive. If he doesn't care, then she's like, I don't feel like he's not even claiming me. He's not even claiming me as a girl. He doesn't care if I bang other people. Like that will actually have the opposite effect, can turn her off at first. And this is why guys try to use this as a game strategy and they mess it up, though. At first, it can cause her to be more attracted to you in the beginning because she'll go, wait a second, why doesn't he like me? But then, after a certain period of time, she'll be turned off then and be like, something's wrong with him. I'm going to go have sex with somebody else. Right. And so that's what that effect is. But there's a certain degree of mate protecting behavior in a relationship that a girl wants and is comfortable with. That's a turn on for her. And that's also a turn on for the guy. And then when you're having the act of sex, this is why they've statistically run, and I know this from my own life, you go out of town, come back in town, you tend to just bang the hell out of your girl and you're a lot more horny for her. Why is that? Now, a lot of this I always chalked up to just being gone for a few days and not having sex with other people. But the reality is, like, when I've been in more dating situations and not committed relationships, so that means I would have sex with people when I was out of town, and then come back and have sex with the girl that I was having sex with in town, consensually, all of course, right? Non-monogamy. In that circumstance, I still was wanting to ravage that girl more. So, from a personal level, I know exactly what it feels like. But they've done the tests and the studies, and it's not just, they don't believe it's just from being away from the vagina. It's also that propensity or the thought that she may have been with somebody else. It's like it causes this primal mate protective urge for a guy to want to bang his girl more, harder, focus on her orgasms, all that stuff. And that's why some will claim that it can make the sex better, like the cucking thing. But when it crosses, and this is just simple dread, this is dread psychology. When a guy has a little bit of dread, he's going to do a little bit more to keep his girl. When a girl has a little bit of dread, she'll do more to keep her guy. But there's a point where that dread crosses the line, and for guys, for women, more dread tends to be more attractive. For guys, a little bit of dread, like the idea, like you said, maybe this idea for you, the talk about her past, just talking about her past experiences. You want to smash her vagina, you want to smash her insides so that she remembers that all those past experiences are garbage. Like that's just what happens in your head, because you don't actually want to watch her or have her be with another dude. Here's the thing though, sexual imprinting is a thing. And this is where there's this myth that gets promoted. Another myth that some of these sexual proclivities, and I'm not talking about like gender identity preferences and stuff like that, like being gay or straight or any of that stuff, although there's a degree of this too, but it's not just something that's genetic at birth. You're not born a cuck per se. There's no evidence to that. They keep making that claim, but there's no evidence. The scientific community doesn't make that claim. The kink world does. And again, the kink world makes the claim because they're not wanting to kink shame each other and people, which is fine. No problem. It doesn't matter in the kink world where it came from, whether it was imprinted, like, and it's the same thing with preference. Like, I know for a fact there's a lot of women out there who are not lesbians at birth. They had bad experiences with men and their sexuality, because all female sexuality is more fluid when it comes to preference. The bad experiences with men, the better experiences with women caused them to want women. And then that became the sexual imprinting. And then they'll get really mad if a guy says, like, well, you just need some good D. Like, they get mad about it. And that's because he's not actually the guy who says that, usually is being not very sensitive or understanding to her situation either. So it's a divisive thing to say. Everyone gets mad and everyone's all irritated, blah, blah, blah. Well, if everyone can, put their emotions on pause for a minute and be an adult about the discussion, there may be some truth to that, right? There's usually more truth to that statement when it comes to women than men, because women are more fluid sexually. That is a proven fact. So whatever, man. Like, when we start to break this stuff down without putting our emotions into it, and having open discussions, we can now understand each other. We can understand male, female psychology a little bit better, and we can help our relationships with it. Again, it's not to judge a woman who says she's a lesbian. Like, you're not a true lesbian. You weren't this at birth. It was probably imprinting. Like, who cares? Her preferences are her preferences. Accept them for what they are. However, could it have been imprinting? A lot of times it is. Well, things like cucking, that is imprinting. So you have a situation where, okay, the idea of her having had sex with someone else makes you want to smash her and teach her and make her remember who's the best, right? Kind of a thing, because we have a desire to be her best, her sexual best, and women also want to be with a guy who is their sexual best. Well, then that can cross into, well, now she's, flirting with other men or doing things, trying to get this guy upset. And then this guy is, from getting upset, is now having harder sex with her or whatever, right? So she's getting benefits, he's getting benefits, but the problem is it's not necessarily psychologically healthy, because it puts him in this position of questioning whether or not he's her best choice, which can be damaging to him psychologically, and also puts a lot of control, where it puts a lot of control on the woman. It's maybe control and power that she doesn't want. She wants to be subbed. Most women do, to a degree. She wants a guy to be more dominant while challenging his, most guys that don't understand this stuff. They're not prepared to have their sexual power challenged. And so then they end up having this angst and then trying to dominate more. But then that leads into, okay, well, we're interested now in going to a BDSM club. Well, are you going to have her be with other dudes there? Or, you know what I mean? Now you start to see what I'm saying. Like, it's not this, oh, you're born a cuck. No, it steps into this thing. And there's a lot of material. You're going to see a lot more material being pushed out there that is going to promote that this sort of thing. This is a femdom thing, by the way, that this is going to, that this is like the way to do shit. And this is okay. And this is healthy. And it's going to be done in different ways, different languages. And guys who are not aware of the stuff that I talk about in this channel, you'll watch them. Guys will start to move down the step of decision-making and polluting also what they're neurologically responding to. And eventually she's banging other dudes and he's crying in the corner. You can lead yourself with your own sexual behavior, male or female, okay, down a pathway of destruction. You can, through sexual imprinting. This is a fact. Nobody likes this fact. People don't talk about it. They want to pretend that they have control over shit and you should be able to do what you want, explore whatever. It's fucking bullshit. Okay. Because you can actually pull yourself down a pathway in the beginning. Okay. I'm not saying that Steven's going to do this, the guy in my chat here, but in the beginning, talk about past experiences and wanting to smash her more. Guy probably wasn't thinking about crying in the corner while some, bull who's more physically powerful than he is just railing his girl out. That's where he ends up in a year. All right. I'm just saying, dude. And then it's like, how do I accept that this is really what I must want? No, it's not. You actually had your insecurities inspired and you eroticize those insecurities through your actions, behavior, and that led you down. And there was evolutionary reasons why you're susceptible to it, but by doing that, it led you down this pathway of being a weaker man who doesn't feel like, who knows that he's not his girl's best, who doesn't even try to be a stronger, better man, right? And who gives up on that and tries to keep his relationship together by letting his woman bang other people. All right. And women she wants a woman like Simona was expressing yesterday. She wants the guy that is her sexual best to be the dom. And these guys will pathologically put themselves on a pathway of not being that dom for their girl. And it's detrimental to themselves and their own future and their relationships. But what you're going to run into is a lot of counter information that's out there because we're in a gynocentric social order. In other words, we promote feminism, which does not mean equality, despite what people say. It really means a female-dominated system because the male-dominated system is toxic, bad, too aggressive, like, right? That's the narrative. So the female dominated one, God is female. And if we had female world leaders, we'd never fight each other. People have made that argument. I find that hilarious because if you've ever seen how women can really fight each other, you know what I mean? In a way that is more sinister than I've seen guys fight. Like, no, it's crazy. We all fight each other. But that's not the point. We are promoting. I mean, you can't even turn on an action movie anymore. Generally speaking, there's going to be a female action character who is defying all physics, logic, and, physical, genetic capabilities and kicking everybody's butt, right? Like, it's like, this is where we're at. With this, you're going to see now this showing up in the sexual marketplace and the dating and relationship marketplace. It starts with polyamory. And so polyamory, just open polyamory. Well, I'll bang. And when you guys are spinning plates, you're participating in polyamory because what do you think your girl's doing when you're not out with her and you're going to go out with another girl? You think she's just sitting at home waiting for you? It's amazing the amount of guys that think that are in the chat and that, red pill guys, y'all think your girls aren't fucking other people. It's funny to me. It's amazing. You think, well, she's in my frame and she only wants to date me and she doesn't talk to other dudes. And okay, yeah, you have 3 girlfriends because you're so high value and your girl with no commitment isn't fucking on you. I'm not saying, because I know it's easy for me to be solipsistic myself. Most of the time that I was, not committed, most of these girls were also not having sex with other people. But I didn't have the illusion to think that they wouldn't at some point or that they weren't looking, right? And so just because they probably weren't having sex with other people, some of them I'm sure were, and I just didn't know about it. And I'm sure that, it's arrogant. It doesn't matter, dude. Like I could have a garage full of supercars, $1 billion, and be the best physical specimen on the planet. She doesn't have the security of some form of commitment with me, even if that commitment means I'm still running around. She doesn't have the security of knowing that all the shit that I have is hers. She will defer and she will open up her doors and her legs to a guy who will provide that for her. Okay. And I won't mention any names, but there's a reason why all the dudes that promote themselves in the space that think, oh man, all the girls really like me because I'm the coolest on earth. There's a reason why there's a reason why those guys are not in committed relationships with those girls, and why those girls become ex-girlfriends. They become ex-girlfriends because they fuck other guys. All right, like, let's just get real here, okay? And so I'm not trying to shit on anybody, but most of these guys, their ex-girlfriends became an ex for a reason. And sure, they may have wanted that high value man first, but in absence of being able to get him, she's out doing something else. And so, anyways, this is just natural shit. You need to accept it and understand it so you can now design your life. All right. And every time she does that stuff, there's an element of cucking. She's either cucking the guy that she's the other guy while she's banging you, or she's cucking you while she's banging the other guy. And maybe both. I don't really know. Guess it depends on the girl, right? In other words, she's telling herself, screw this guy. I'm sadistically thinking about how upset he might be. You know, is that the first thing she's thinking about? No, but that aspect of it will make her feel both ashamed and more aroused. Just like you hearing about in this example, my friend here was, Stefan here was able to say, hey man, like this was I would never want this, but you was able to be honest in my chat, which is cool, and I appreciate that, with no fronting. This is a fact, because this is what was demonstrated. You know what I mean? Is that the same reason why most guys, when they go out of town or they hear about sexual exploits or something like that, they get a bit of angst, but also like, I'm gonna just really bang the shit out of my girl and make sure that I teach her a lesson now, right? Like that, make sure I send the signal that I'm the best dude, right? The reason why there's a level of arousal here, that's also something that most guys are ashamed about, because they don't understand it. Like, why am I wanting to destroy her insides, knowing she's done A, B, or C with somebody else? And I hate that. I hate that she did A, B, and C with somebody else. But at the same time, I want to destroy her insides. What's going on with me? And so, guys, they don't understand it. It's shameful. There's a level of shame with it, right? Just like there is that when a girl is cheating, there may be a level of shame that's there, but it's also arousing, especially if she clearly knows that the guy she's cheating with is a better choice. And so you understand that the cheating is like foundationally why relationships break up. You know what I mean? Like, it's somebody's running off somebody else is a big part of it, or desires it. When your girl walks away from you because of your fighting and the instability and this and that, and there isn't another guy in the picture, understand there's an imaginary guy in the picture, because she doesn't believe that being with you is their best option. She believes that there's somebody else out there somewhere that is a better option than you. And that's why she's able to walk away from you. And so this whole cucking psychology thing, and understand what goes on in her brain and how she compares dudes, like, just sort of without realizing she's doing it a lot of the times, is important for you to understand, because it boils down to, you're either the cucked or you're the guy she is with, and she cucks everybody else for you. Which one are you going to be, right? And guys who fall to the kink have resolved themselves to be the cucked, and they decided to eroticize that. I'm not going to judge it, but I'm going to say for most men, it's a pathological or bad place to be. And they get conditioned or moved towards that. It starts with polyamory. Oh, I'm spinning plates. Oh, she can bang other people. I don't care. I'll bang other people. I can't. I'm not in a commitment, whatever. Or then you get in a commitment. You're like, but you know what? I don't want to complicate our relationship with sexual fidelity. So let's just sort of have an open relationship. And then guys are like, instead of saying, you know what? Instead of guys realizing that there's no fairness, or I'm sorry, there's no equality in the marketplace, there's only fair relationships and unfair ones, right? In this mythology of equality, guys will go, well, if I want to still see other women and spin my plates because I'm super red pill, I'm going to then say we're polyamorous, right? A lot of guys will push it into that. And then she'll go, so wait, I'll be committed to you, but I can bang other dudes. She might not be comfortable even with that at first, but guess what happens when she starts banging other dudes? What happens? She's not banging other guys that she thinks are less than the guy she has at home. That's why it takes her some time really to select and mate in a lot of cases. But when she finds that guy, what do you think she's going to do? Say no when you're out running around with 2 or 3 other people and claiming to be polyamorous? Now, if she promotes polyamory or pushes polyamory, it's because she's using you for resources and the comfort and friendship and all those things that you provide her, but she's not sexually satisfied. She means to get that met elsewhere. So she says, let's be polyamorous, meaning I can go bang other guys who are physically and sexually better than you without having to entangle myself with the trouble of trying to worry about those guys having to keep me, and that's where that comes from. Well, that's being promoted now by society as being normal. That is you being cucked, men. That's what that is. So once it starts there, open polyamory, you think you're going to be a G and bang a bunch of chicks. Well, guess what? She can always get more guys than you can get girls, period. It's just the way it is. There's never a shortage of simps with their dicks out, right? And so, and for women, guys have to put a little bit more effort into the game, all right, to get a girl. And even the high value, attractive guys know what they're doing. And so she can always, beat you a number. And then eventually she can find someone that at least she can convince in her mind is better than you, whether it's true or not. And in any sense, once she's down that pathway, what is that? And this could be polyamory. It could be, we're swingers. We mate swap. How many, people are mate swapping, and swinging in the swinger world in your normal cookie cutter neighborhoods, right? They're doing it covertly and quietly so the kids don't find out. That's been on a great increase. Well, all that swapping, she has a better sexual experience with, Bob down the street or whatever the fuck, because he's been taking his extends from that commercial. You guys remember? And then what happens? You know what I mean? It's like she no longer sees you as the best. And then that turns into, well, I love him. He provides a lot, for me, but he's not the best. So I really want to be able to explore my sexuality, find something better. All the guy who has that angst and stuff goes, well, shit, maybe I'm, should let her explore, because all that information's out there saying, no, bro, go do it. It's healthy. And then what ends up happening is the next steps is he's, hot wifing her. Hot wife is the idea where she's banging another dude in front of him. And then it even goes from hot wifing to her just going out and banging other dudes and calling it cuckoldry, and then him being more of a submissive role. That man becomes a slave to her imperative. And there's books out there that you can look up that are from their feminist reading list books that teach women how to enslave men into allowing them to have her cake and eat it too. His labor, his resources, his time, his money, and then go out and have all of the sex with whoever she wants outside of the relationship while that guy stays at home and cries about it. It's really institutionalizing, or we should not institutionalizing, socially conditioning male slavery is what we're dealing with. All right. So the cuckolding psychology, you're going to see more of it. Mark my words, because nobody's talking about this shit. And that's why my YouTube channel that's banned gets all the hits when I put this stuff in the descriptions, because people are curious. They're not talking about it on like YouTube the way that I'm talking about it. People in the men's help space are not talking about this, but the reality is it's being promoted. And so case in point is that article that I just in the beginning put a link to. I'll see if I can open this guy up. So it's by a doctor, okay, by a PhD psychologist. So now what you're going to see, because the APA just put out, right, a few years ago that masculinity is toxic and bad, right? Like traditional masculine roles are precursor to mental disorder or something like that. I got it. This light is so bright now that the sun has gone down over here. There we go. Let's bring that down a little bit. Ooh, now we're gonna more romantic. That's better because that was like bright. My face is looking shiny and weird. Okay, so So now that since traditional masculinity is toxic, so what now do we need? Well, of course, we need female leadership. And then now cuckoldry and opening up cuckoldry is going to now be a formula for healthy relationships. That's what's going to be promoted. And oh, surprise, surprise, I'm staring at an article that does just that. And it was written a year ago. Now I'm going to pause here and look through. All right, so Simone is commenting on. I'm gonna look through the chat now, guys. Like, sorry, I can't do both at the same time. I know, can't chew gum and walk at the same time. So she's talking about yesterday's video, right? And the ex, well, still, I don't know if he's still gonna be a sexual partner or not. I actually hope that you are gonna do what you need to do for your best results, which doesn't seem that to be with this guy, right? But she's commenting, if we go back to the triggers, we will see that he was shamed by his mother in front of me, that he is not my league and out of league of many women. Objectively, she was actually wrong. Yeah, so this is what I mean. The male shaming and you're not good enough for her, that all that bullshit now leads into, well, I'm not good enough for her. And now maybe she needs to, I should be happy just to have her around. And even though my girlfriend Simona is telling me that she doesn't want to bang other dudes and that she thinks I'm the best, I know that that's BS, because of my own insecurity. So I am going to try to set her up to get banged by other dudes because I know that she's going to do it anyway. Like, this is the pathological thought process that ends up happening, to her boyfriend, now ex, whatever that is now. And Chad, that is fine. Judge it all you want in your personal life. That's cool. Me being on YouTube to be able to have an objective discussion though, and not to, I can't, I'm going to try not to polarize people because I want them to open up their minds and their ears. This is such a triggering topic for both men and women that as soon as I got people that'll read the freaking title, not watch a second of the video, and just start puking up their stupid opinions that are usually arrogant and stupid on my comment section because they don't know anything. You know what I mean? They don't know anything. They haven't read a fucking thing. And they're just going to blah, my opinion. Okay. Because it's such a triggering thing because of what our reproductive safety hinges on a lot of these concepts, both for men and women. So the woman's ability to mate upward is part of her reproductive safety. Our ability to make sure that she is the, that she makes sure that she is the actual mom of our kids and that she safeguards and protects those kids and that she's sexually, which gets into why she needs to be, have sexual fidelity towards us, all that shit, that hits our hindbrain hard, so yeah, you're going to judge it. That's cool. I mean, be judgmental. That's fine. You're allowed to be. I'm being more objective here on YouTube though, is what I'm saying. All right. Okay. Yep. And exactly. Ex-cuckold was the first extreme, obsessive and jealous. So extremely, yes, extremely obsessive and jealous. And then that's what caused that breakup, is that jealous behavior, dude. All that shit, your retroactive jealousy, all that stuff. It turns into this. If you take a left turn at Albuquerque to your retroactive jealousy, now some of that stuff is her. Some of the retroactive jealousy is not your fault as a man. Like her bullshit and her experiences are not your fault. All right. But some of it, the insecurity you may have, is your fault and your responsibility as a man. So there's two components. Sometimes her past is just fucked and it's stimulating red flags for you for a good reason. It's not your insecurity. It's called somebody who has this past is not indicating a good future for you. It doesn't mean that it's true. She could have had this past and, there's some reasons why that she's kind of recovered from those behaviors for a future that it could work out. But I mean, like, let's face it, most people don't fix themselves. And so, yeah. So, I mean, it's at any rate, let's see. We got a super here. Read this one. Isn't cuckolding simply a coping mechanism for underperforming men who've given up on improving themselves for, yeah, pretty much. But women do push this, though. Not all women. Obviously, Simone is not. She's like, that's not what I want. But the social conditioning pushing this, and it sells it to you as equality. You're not a dominant man who's worth a shit. You two are equal partners. And therefore, but you have a desire to fuck other women. So you should be polyamorous. Oh, cool. You're polyamorous. And she's getting railed out by better dudes than you can get women. Because that's probably in most cases that will be exactly what happens. So then it's like, well, you have the prize, and you see, she's now the prize. You're not the prize as the man. What gets neglected is the long-term success is, predicated on those male qualities. Her being able to get short-term, let's say her being able to get better short-term mating opportunities does not make her better in the long run in the relationship from a genetic perspective and hypergamous perspective. But it gives you that illusion when you're polyamorous and she can just have short, because think about it, a girl who's a 5 can bag an 8 or a 9 if that guy's horny enough on a one-night stand or something. It's just, she can bag like a guy that's a couple of sexual market value points higher than her for a night. He's not going to commit to her, though. Getting that commitment is what makes the guy valuable partner to her. And so she's having it conditioned, and he's having conditioned through this behavior that she's actually more valuable because she can have dudes nut in her, right? That are maybe a better quality, right? For an evening. Well, again, just because a dude's going to nut into you, that doesn't mean he wants to keep you around or take care of those kids. And that's the element that gets disillusioned with this sort of thing. And so then this guy's like, well, she's the prize, I guess. Let me go drive her and drop her off at her boyfriend's house. Like, I'm serious. This is shit that happens. And you have mainstream people that have been on, been exposed on YouTube for doing this shit. So I'm not talking out my asshole. This is like becoming a mainstream fucking thing. Shit. Oh God. All right. So let's, okay. Did I get all the supers? I think I did. All right, sweet. Yeah. I remember that session, Nick, actually. Yeah, I remember that one. Ronald Suarez, I am jealous of you, my friend. Actually, I'm not, because I have a really good relationship. But if I were single, I would be that. That was the plan, bro. Colombia, yeah, you're right, because the ratio of girl to guy in Colombia and the quality of the girls over there. Ooh, boy, I was touching up on my Spanish, my friend. But darn it, I got into that relationship here. So not really darn it though. She's pretty hot, and it works out well. But anyway, let's get to the article now, okay? Because I am fucking overtime. I'm supposed to be going to a party, actually. Oh God. Anyway, but here I'm talking to you, fine people. Okay, why cuckolding has become more mainstream. Oh shit! Psychology Today, a year ago, almost exactly to the date this is written. Wow, you know what I mean? Like, am I talking out of my asshole? No, I'm not. This is what I'm fucking talking about. Psychology Today, and really, you're going to start seeing even the scientific community doing research to promote this idea. They're going to be curious about it, and hopefully they'll maintain the scientific method, but there will be biased research out there that will push men towards and women towards thinking, oh, I can have my cake and eat it too. Why is this dangerous? Of course, it's dangerous because, well, men become enslaved under that paradigm. So it's not good for men. Women lose the dominant aspect of a male, and women, despite the social conditioning for a couple 100,000 years, have always had that dominant aspect of an attractive male. And to disregard that, I mean, you're kind of losing that, or rather, you're losing it in your relationship is a better way to say it. You've now taken that concept of strategic pluralism and you've completely socially conditioned it now to make it where she literally is having sex with breeders who are physically more powerful and then using a man for resources. But that's not the kind of love event that she actually wants. That's why Simona asked that question in the chat. If she was comfortable with this, she wouldn't have asked her questions. You know what I mean? And she's not the only one. I've had a number of women actually come to me about this issue. So it's like, by and large, women don't want this sort of thing, but you have a segment of the population that does, and then they're pushing the narrative. So key points of the article: female infidelity has a long history of stigma and shame. In recent years, cuckolding and other forms of female non-monogamy are getting attention, positive, negative, in mainstream media. As shame and stigma around sexual lifestyles decreases, people find healthy and positive ways to integrate sexuality into their lives. That's where those two objective statements, key point number 3, became unobjective. Okay. So this is a doctor of psychology writing an article for Psychology Today. A male, by the way, not even a female. I'm sure he identifies as a feminist. It would be nice to have him on my show. I'd love to interview him. He would never do that. I'm sure. He wouldn't want to kill his career because I'm probably going to ask hard questions. But anyway, so the article reads, in 2008, I encountered couples who lived what they call the hot wife for cuckold lifestyle. While I had worked with sexuality issues for many years, I was unfamiliar with this phenomenon. In this lifestyle, the men in these heterosexual relationships are encourage their wives to engage in sexual relations with other men, while husbands were most often monogamous. In cuckolding, there is an element of male submission or humiliation involved, whereas in hot wifing, men are equal partners and there's no humiliation involved. Well, hot wifing, there is humiliation involved. This is what I mean. There is humiliation because someone else is banging your girl, and you're picking a more powerful partner usually, and that's where it steers towards. She doesn't want to bang a guy that's not as attractive, so she's deriving sexual enjoyment from another man. That is humiliating in and of itself, to the way that your brain is wired as a man, and so. Yeah. And, to most men, that's where that's at. So this is what I mean. Like, the bias already starts and we're not even a paragraph in. My initial reaction was to assume that this practice reflect unhealthy relationships, disturbed attachments, and sexual problems. Nothing was further from the truth. Okay. Yeah. So here we go. Buckle up. As I interviewed people around the world who engaged in these practices, I found that most of them were healthy people exploring sexual desires and confronting taboo and shame. I was forced to confront the degree of morality bias that had intruded into my clinical thinking and clouded my judgments. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not going to kink shame, and I'm not going to say that it's unhealthy to have little kinks or whatever. But if somebody is making a decision, this is what I mean. This was interesting about how it really takes a doctor and an academic to be this fucking stupid. Really. It takes advanced degrees to be a fucking idiot. It's like they rationalize and reason out basic logic, and they're dumb, and they have stupid unlogical opinions that lack logic and reasoning, and lack evidence, quite frankly, because they ignore glaring fucking common sense things because they're academics. And then we eat that shit up like, or not me, certainly, but a lot of people eat it up. Look, most of the time, the man is feeling shameful and humiliated, as he even mentions previously in the paragraph. And he feels that shame and humiliation and low self-esteem and feels badly and poorly about his sexual self because of this dynamic. And well, those bad feelings brought him to this dynamic. And then this dynamic of him being cuckolded further promotes this dynamic of feelings of shame, weakness, sexual inadequacy, all of those things, right? So I don't care. Let's remove the kink act, and just say if somebody is making any decision that brings them to a point of anxiety, shame, feeling of low self-esteem, low value, feelings of inadequacy, affecting their ability to perform better, affecting their ability to want to become better, is that psychologically healthy? I mean, according to Dr. Lay, that's really kind of funny that his name is Dr. Lay. Dr. David Lay. Dr. Lay. Like, thinks cuckoldry is okay. Anyway, she's getting laid. Anyway, it's just I don't know. It's just kind of funny. But I can't make this shit up. You guys got the link, dude. The article's right there. It takes a academic to be this fucking stupid, doesn't it? Most men in these situations, I'm not going to say all because I fucking haven't interviewed everybody on the planet, but most men in these situations have deep-seated insecurities and feelings of inadequacy. This behavior, this kink, does not solve those feelings. It just eroticizes them. So he has negative feelings about himself. How is that healthy? How is that good? How is that productive? And then he does something that makes those negative, it actually reinforces those negative feelings and eroticizes them. Why would you want to reinforce negative feelings about yourself? That's, you know what I mean? Like, to that degree. Now, a woman being dominated in bed and being told she's a dirty slut, this, that, and the other, that's actually cathartic and a release for those women. They don't walk around going, I'm a dirty slut and I'm sad and I feel bad about myself. You know what I mean? Like, no, they walk around with high self-esteem throughout because of the release they get from the kink of being dominated. That's that. Some guys, maybe that could work that way. I don't, there could be some guys where it's more of a release, but so I'm not, I'm trying to remain objective, but I know that by and large, it's not what you're running into. By and large, as the case study of Simona's ex-boyfriend, all right? But this is all over. By and large, the dude feels inadequate and like shit. And that's why he's involved. And then doing this kink only makes it worse for him, not better. How the fuck is that not mentally unhealthy and pathological? Fucking Dr. Lay. And from Psychology Today, you fucking idiot. How? You know what I'm saying? Jesus fuck. What planet am I on? Not the right one. Anyway, let's go back to his article. I'm trying to be unbiased for the rest of it. All right. Well, am I doing a good job being unbiased? I can't fucking be unbiased. If you're this fucking stupid, I can't. I'm done. Like, I almost want to stop reading because it's so fucking dumb. But anyway, this is the shit though that you guys are in for. Congrats, 2022. Welcome to the shit show. It's only going to get worse. All right. There has been little to no attention to this lifestyle in mainstream media or research. More research is actually being done now though. Though I found that there is a long and rich history of such forms of wife sharing and permissive female infidelity, it was a dirty, shameful secret. Shakespeare's plays are filled with humiliation and shame around men being cuckolded by their wives, and that theme has persisted throughout the social attitudes in literature. Where consensual cuckolding happened, it was often secret, shameful, and hidden for fear of judgment. the shame is part of the kink, guy. Like without the shame, it's not a kink for a guy who actually enjoys or wants that. That's the point, you know? And the reason that shame is there is because it's instinctually not good for us men for her to fuck other dudes. Like it's the instinct says don't do this shit. That's why the social attitude is shame. Social attitudes don't happen on accident. All right. Many couples kept back to the article. Many couples I met kept their sexual lifestyle secret even within other sexual communities. I'll never forget the couple who participated in the swinging community but kept secret the fact that they were interested in cuckolding because of judgment from swingers that the husband was now also being sexual with other people and that the relationship was solely focused on the wife's sexual pleasure. Yes, because you're going to be judged by that. It doesn't fit with how we're built. So people are going to naturally judge you. I'm not shaming the guy who wants it if he thinks it's good for him. But the problem is, it's usually not good for him. And that's why we got to look at the results. It's like a guy who's like, I'm going to smoke crack because I think crack smoking is going to be good for me. And you're like, hey, dumb fuck, it's not good for you. It does all these things that are going to be bad for you. And in fact, okay, he goes, well, I'm going to do it anyway because I read an article from Psychology Today that said maybe crack could be fucking good for me because some dumbass doctor who's spent fucking 10 years in school rationalized that crack's good today. So then he's like, cool. Then a year later of doing crack, he's like, oh man, I feel like shit and my whole life sucks. Is this bad or good? And then, Dr. So-and-so comes on and goes, hey man, must be good for you, right? Like whatever. No, motherfucker. You got to look at the results. All right. The results that you're getting from your behavior and the consequences of your behavior. Like, holy shit. If the consequences aren't good, then that means it's probably not good behavior. And there's some people in the kink world, I'm not, they go through this and the consequences aren't bad for them. Okay, fine. Good on you, live your life. But most men who put themselves down this pathway are having to deal with negative consequences that, quite frankly, they wouldn't have if they didn't go down this path to begin with. They literally ruin their lives and their relationships with this. That is the consequences of their behavior, and we're being socially conditioned to do this. Anyways, in recent years, however, mainstream acknowledgement and attention to the commonness of the cuckold and the hot wife fantasy and lifestyle has exploded, shifting to in extraordinary ways. In 2017, a social psychologist, Justin LeMiller, and columnist, notice that there has to be a media columnist also involved, David Savage, we published the first ever psychological research study of people who fantasize about cuckolding, particularly in the gay male community. Okay, well, gay community is a different dynamic. That is not the same dynamic as a heterosexual dynamic. I know a lot about the gay community, but I don't claim to be an expert in that dynamic. Same-sex dynamics are different, and they do different things than what heterosexual dynamics are going to do. So you want to study that. You can't convert. It's like saying I did a study on behavior of llamas to try to determine what fucking, I don't know, pick a similar animal, but maybe that's really bad. Maybe this is why I get banned on shit. I'm now using animals to make an analogy about the gay community. Sorry, gay friends. I'm not saying that your shit's like bestiality. Like, see what I mean? You get talking about this and everyone fucking loses. I can't say anything. So I'll put my foot in my mouth here. No, but you get what I mean, though. It's a different dynamic, for God's sakes. And yes, like doctors used to recommend smoking cigarettes too. Exactly, right? Like these are stupid. You know what I mean? They're stupid. And and we're getting, I'm gonna share some of Simona's comments here because they're good. Comments. So yeah, it's so intense, masochistic feelings that it makes him feel alive. When in life he feels empty. Exactly. So this is a direct and you'll get case study after case study. This is what it is. The guy is not doing fucking well. Women in submissive, dominant relationships tend to do better. A lot of times you look at them as a case study. In other words, they feel better about themselves, fulfilled, and so on and so forth. They have a greater self-esteem because of the of the little bit of masochistic feeling they get in the bedroom, right? It leads to greater self-esteem outside of it when there's healthy boundaries and separations and it's done right. You know what I'm saying? Not in this case because surprise, men and women are wired differently, right? And so it doesn't work the same when you do it the other way. For most men, just like Simona's saying here, you don't feel good outside of the relationship. You know what I mean? Results are devastating. Yes, indeed. For for him, good for me, sure, for sure, since I am not committed in marriage and get 5 men providing for me. Woohoo. Yeah. Well, yeah, puts you in that position. But I mean, tell me, and I'm just curious, you tell me, because I'm not gonna judge it, dude. It's whatever you want. But would you rather have 5 men like, or would you rather have 5 different men like that in that sense? Or those 5 men in the situation you're in a solution to a problem, which is that you don't have the guy that fulfills everything for you? Like, would you rather have one dude that fulfills everything for you or 5 dudes that don't fulfill, each one of them by themselves do not fulfill everything, and therefore you have 5 dudes around? So let me know in the comments. Which would you rather have? I think I know the answer, but I mean, you might surprise me. I don't know. Um, yeah. So, but yeah, for him, he had just given up on himself. Yes. So you see what happens is more and more men give up on themselves. What happens? Simping goes up and shit like cuckoldry goes up. All right. I'm not going to fucking post that comment up, Sluggo. You guys, you guys are fucking funny. Oh, man. Yeah. And there it is. Thank you. I knew that would be your answer. I was just putting it out there. You would rather have one that would make you feel safe. In other words, dominating you, because that's what would make you feel safe, as well as being committed to you, right? And having a commitment with you, and you feel safe in that commitment. So that's where you would rather have one dude that supplies all the needs. Most women would rather find that one guy, because here's the thing: when you spread it out among a bunch of different dudes, you can't have a deep connection with those guys. It can only go so far, which means your level of safety with those guys is not there. If you have to switch around and mate switch, your level of anxiety is going to be a lot higher, and you're just on your own, dude. Basically, you know what I mean? Instead of being in a position where you really feel safe and secure with one dude who's willing to take care of you, even if your parts stop working and you get sick or something happens, that dude doesn't care. He'll fucking take care of you. That's what you'd rather have. And that guy, of course, checks all the blocks for you in terms of sexual desire and emotional support, and all the and having enough resources and being all the things, right? All the things. um but yeah, so someone, well, yeah, after his mother shamed him, he broke up with me over wanting to have access to my work phone. Yep. So he went crazy with his boundaries. This is why I got a course, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, because he went crazy with his insecurity and then was off the reservations with his boundaries, right? So first he set himself up for this when he wanted to start and date others. That's right. And so yeah, so this is where see what I'm saying? It's a series of decisions that people make, and it triggers the next decision, which triggers the next decision. Next thing you know, asshole's crying off in the corner somewhere while someone else is banging his girlfriend. Instead of having a happy relationship where the girl, in this case, you know, and in most cases, saw him as the best. She saw him as the best and wasn't interested in doing anything else. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know your dynamic. I mean, it's possible that, wanting some other women, maybe you would have played with them with other girls, maybe there were other solutions. I don't know, where your hard limits or soft limits are. But there's other solutions other than, by not being aware of this shit and having deep seated insecurities and not working on your inner game and having your boundaries off. Like, this dude didn't execute good boundaries that were appropriate, demanding that he has access to her work phone. Well, this girl is not going to give him access to her work phone when she needs the phone for work and he is demonstrating insecure and erratic behavior. Because then her concern is that he's going to do some shit like text somebody, a client or somebody from work, or act fucking crazy. And then she's going to lose her security, which is her job. Like, fuck, dude. Like, people are like, how do you not see this stuff? I totally get it. Anyway, but it's a lot of good comments here, but I'm going to try to finish this article off. But yeah, it's a series of behaviors. Your behaviors get reactions. They cause neurochemical reactions, which imprint you. They imprint you sexually. They imprint you behaviorally, which then leads to the next decision and behavior. And you can put yourself on a pathway of decision making to where you're fucked up at the end. That's how it goes. Nobody's like, hey, let me make this massive fucked up decision right now. That doesn't usually happen. It's usually a series of small decisions that makes you make the massively messed up decision. That's why in my cheating course, it's designed the way it's designed. It's so that, you lead your relationship. So both you and your partner are not making a series of bad, small decisions leading to a bigger bad decision. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what we're dealing with here. So reading this here, the media exploded and even Fox News got involved, deriding the idea that cuckoldry could ever be healthy. In conservative politics, the term cuck is commonly used to insult men. For men, well, it's not just conservative politics. This goes back to Shakespeare, but that's fine. For men are weak and masculine and committed to their political principles. But in just a few years later, the same conservative community was rocked by revelations that prominent Republican and religious figure Jerry Falwell allegedly enjoyed watching his wife engage in sexual behaviors with other men, a core concept of cuckolding. Yeah. In 2018, Justin Lee Miller expanded the research exploring sexual fantasies and behaviors in his book, Tell Me What You Want, where he shared research that around 45% of men sexually fantasize about watching their female partners with other men. I don't think, I question that data, quite frankly, but I'll keep reading. These data jibe with the fact that every year porn-related research indicates cuckolding-related pornography is extremely and increasingly popular. Colleague, fuck, I can't even read. Anyway, colleague, Jesus Christ. College Joe Court, not colleague, described men who explored cuckolding in his book and his blog, but also now began to talk about the women who engaged in the cuckolding, as well as the women who get excited by sharing their men with other women. That's called cuckwheating. That actually fits more with a biological drive. Not saying women should do that or whatever, but that, I'm not saying women should go for that, but it is actually something that is fitting in more with biological drives. We had harems, and we had polyamorous tribes, but those tribes were run by men, and dominant men ran the tribes. And then that developed into agricultural revolution to where the tribes turned into harems where one guy or lord had multiple wives. And then that eventually evolved into monogamy. So We have a longer history of women sharing their men, is the point. Anyway, as mainstream attention to cuckolding has increased, a fascination shift has occurred away from the focus on the male sex fantasy towards an elevation of the female desires that are the focus of cuckolding. All right, I'm gonna read that again for asshole in my comment section yesterday. The mainstream attention to cuckolding has increased. A fascinating shift has occurred away from the focus on the male sex fantasy towards an elevation of the female desires that are the focus of cuckolding. So this is something that women, in absence of a dominant man that they feel is the best that they can do and that they feel safe with, this is a solution to that problem, which is they bang other dudes. And instead of them doing it in secret and in cheating, they're trying to promote doing it as a sexual fantasy. It's really a big, you know, it's a big fleecing, pretty much, right? It's it's a big I don't know, put smoke and mirrors situation, right? God damn, this fucking article is long as fuck. All right. Oh, I assume this video is done. There's no way. There's no way YouTube's gonna care about this. I don't care anymore. All right. So when I investigated cuckolding, hot wifing, this was a practice almost universally introduced by the husbands to their wives. So yes, husbands are introducing it to their wives because of their deep-seated insecurities, right? But that's not, so this is where he's wrong here again, because I have tons of evidence of women wanting this. The difference is women are afraid of being shamed, so they fantasize about it and they don't bring it up to the guys. So the fact that when he says the sentence here, I heard only rarely, if ever, about women who chose to seek this out themselves or introduced it independently for their own interest. Yeah, see, women aren't going to. Women are this is where another misunderstanding of male-female dynamics. Women are aroused by a variety of things, where guys are less aroused by less. Guys are aroused by a variety of women, but a less variety of proclivities. Right? They've done the study where even two animals having sex can. Back to animals sex. I don't know why the fuck that I'm doing that on this whole video, but whatever. Women would get aroused by animals and watching animals have sex, and then as they would other things, like they would say, I'm not aroused by that, but their arousal centers would respond, whereas men would not be aroused by that, and then their arousal centers would not respond, right? So in other words, women are aroused by a lot of things, even though they're not consciously aware of those things. And so women have the fantasy when they're with a guy that's not doing it for them sexually. They have the fantasy of being fucked by someone else, whether it's their boss, whether it's their ex-boyfriend that used to do them better, or whether it's their, a guy that they just randomly met, whoever. That's normal. If you follow my video I showed in my little commercial clip, 80% of women have had fantasies about wanting to have sex with someone else. Some of those will just be passing, and then they are into their guy. You know what I mean? It's in their head, so it could happen, but they won't pay attention to it or even recognize it. But women who are sexually unsatisfied in their relationships, they seek out and have fantasy about have more satisfying experiences with other men without losing the security of the guy that they have at home. So, and when women have these fantasies, they're almost guaranteed to not express them to their guys. So for him to say, I rarely, if ever, like, it's something that guys want, it's only a small subset of guys that will want it. Women who are not happy sexually will want to cuck their men. It's called cheating. It's called banging someone else. You know what I mean? That's what this is. And anyway, this is just a way to, but they're never going to be like, a woman's never going to be like, yeah, you know what? I really want to bang my ex because, he's just better for me than you are. Or I'm wondering how my boss is so dominant. I really kind of want to bang him because you're weak ass in the bedroom. Like, how many women are going to say that they're not? And this is why the guys are bringing it up. The insecure guys on a pathway of self-destruction usually are the ones bringing it up, right? Anyway, all of this has changed, though, he says. Okay. Venus Connections is a matchmaking service that pairs single men and women who are both interested in finding a relationship, which includes permissive female infidelity from the beginning. Well, looky here. I didn't even read this part of the article yet. This is my first time reading it. I interviewed Crystal Welch, a woman who struggled with monogamy. So in other words, she's fucking cheats on every guy she's with and accepted that sexual fidelity didn't work for her. Well, that's fair. Hey man, at least if you're going to accept it, that's fine. You know, then don't try to get a high value man that's not going to accept you, but whatever. She sought out a man who accepted that in her and reports her never been happier, more fulfilled. In open and uncensored memoir of love, liberation, non-monogamy, writer Rachel Kranz dives deeply into exploring her own sexuality and pursuing sex outside of the bound of the relationship. Okay, good. Well, at least he is recognizing this is a female-driven thing, and this is in their fantasies and all that. Just because in the kink world, a lot of guys were the ones bringing it up. That's just because of women fearing that shame and repercussion. We're now changing a social order where they can do this without shame. So exactly. It's like approved cheating, but still cheating. Exactly my point. So it's trying, what this boils down to, it's the social environment is trying to convince you that that cheating is okay. And in fact, not only okay, but should be welcomed and eroticized. And in fact, you now have dating websites opening up that are promoting this female-centered bonobo style mating experience. That's a anthropology humor. Haha. Haha. Anyway, but yeah, because research bonobo apes. Anyway, whatever. You get what I'm saying. This isn't good for most guys, right? When I say most, I mean almost all the dudes. So, but you need to know this, right? I don't know why this guy is autistically teary-eyed Ashley Madison over and over again on repeat. Why are you doing this, Gruber? What's wrong with you? Why this is, and he's doing it again. I don't know. All right, man. I got to put you in timeout because you're weird. Okay. Stop being weird in my shit. All right. Anyway. So it's a nightmare to go with a man who is a stranger. Yeah, of course. It's not what you want. That's what I'm saying, though. Most women actually would rather have a dominant man. There's a certain, it's just if you settle in a marriage, I mean, you say that, right? Like you would most want a dominant man, but you also admitted too, you're seeing like 5 different guys. This is what I'm not shaming you for it, but I'm saying in absence of having the dominant guy that solves everything for you, you're now stuck in a non-commitment where you're messing around with multiple guys. And by the way, that messing around with multiple guys is going to hinder the ability to keep together a long-term commitment later with a dominant guy that would have everything you want. So you need to think about that. I'm not shaming you for it. I'm just saying actions and behaviors have consequences. Just like sticking with this guy as one of these guys that you're with, that's an ex who wants you to keep cucking. Like, yeah. And that's good. I'm glad you have done that because you're going to need to, because basically keeping and juggling around multiple men that are not the guy that you want, you know what I mean? And even this, I that's better. This is better than banging all of them. That said, though, there's still a bunch of skill sets that I'm not saying don't go out and be with dudes and hang out in absence of having it, but what I'm saying is there's an opportunity cost. Do you understand me? Like when you're going out with guys that are just not like the guy, he's not the guy, right? Like that, like there's an opportunity cost there because you're missing opportunities with other dudes. But anyway, it's a lot. You're figuring it out. It's not easy. I understand. And I appreciate you trying to figure it out. I mean, if you keep trying to figure out and don't settle, I think you eventually will get it. Everybody, that includes everybody, guy, girl, doesn't matter. What's the super chat here? Men today see committed relationships as too much responsibility, all the while going on social media to lust over unlimited selection. That's true. And they would rather have the fantasy of a girl they're not in a relationship with online than have a real relationship because they don't feel they're good enough. And that also takes effort. You see, so men are just not putting the effort in more and more. It's pretty sad. Cuckoldry absolves you of the performance responsibility as a man, so you can retreat. Yep, that's correct. You are correct. Thank you for your comments. And Simona agrees too. That was her experiences. So with that, I'm going to close this video. I'm supposed to be at a party right now. How am I doing? Pretty shitty. I'm partying here with you guys instead. So anyway, it makes kind of boils me a little bit that the mainstream discussion is all bullshit that's going to make you fail in your relationships. All right. This promotion of this idea is as disguised as poly, right, is setting you men up for failure. All right. It's not good. And again, I'm not trying, I'm just looking at the facts here. All right. And so, yeah, I mean, you guys need to make, and thanks for your supers, man. And thanks for your comments. You guys need to think about these things and make good decisions about how you want to structure relationships, the conditions and the boundaries you have. That's what's going to help make you be that. That's going to further aid in you being the dominant guy that a girl will want to be with. Most women are not wanting that guy that's going to want to be cuckolded. Most women are not wanting that guy who's, and thank you again. Thank you again. It's most women want a guy who's dominant and who's going to make her feel safe as well as maintain that attraction and desire too, which means a little bit of angst, but not too much. And she's going to want to be in that role that's a little bit more on the submissive side of it. That's most, not all, but most. And most of you guys need to learn how to do that. And that's what that course is about too. Not just about not getting cheated on, but fundamentally the reasons why women cuck your ass is because they're sexually unsatisfied and because you don't have good boundaries. And so, and then how to respond to these things and how to handle these things. That's all part of that course. You don't want to be the social narrative. As you can see, I'm reading mainstream psychology today, right, by a PhD promoting cuckoldry as a healthy option. It's not a healthy option when the results mean that somebody feels terrible about themselves and is not, motivated to make themselves do better and to feel good and to feel happy about themselves. I mean, since when was not having confidence and having low self-esteem and feeling bad about yourselves and getting abysmal results? Since when was that psychologically healthy? But apparently in this article I just read to you today from Psychology Today, that's what's considered, that's healthy now. That's a new paradigm. Masculinity is toxic. You know what I mean? But being abysmally fucking, sad about yourself and low confidence and feeling terrible and not getting results, that's healthy. That's the new healthy from mainstream psychology. And you're going to see more of this shit, guys. You heard it here first. All right. And exactly, mainstream is the wrong stream. So, you know what? Go subscribe to my stuff. Subscribe to my other channel too. I put the link in the description. Take this fucking course. All right. You need it. You may think, well, I'm just dating now. I don't need it. Or I'm in a relationship. It's going pretty good. I don't need it. You bullshit. You need it. Okay. Because this is going to frame how you approach the sexual marketplace. If you have good boundaries, you're not going to get involved with somebody like some of the people you shouldn't have gotten involved with in the past. You know what I mean? If you know how to enforce these things, if you know how to, and there's other things in that course too, like how to be able to tell if she's lying, how to ask the right questions and certain key questions that will draw the truth out of people. That stuff's all there too. So I hope to see you guys in the course. And thanks again for being a part of the broadcast. And I will see you next time.